The fear of Padme's death was the very thing that caused Anakin Skywalker to fall to the dark side, and his hopes of resurrecting her and bringing her back to life was the one thing that kept him going after Obi-Wan mutilated him during their duel on Mustafar. But after building a portal into the Force netherworld, Darth Vader discovered something he didn't expect. A dark, twisted version of Padme that was exploding with red Sith lightning. Was this really Padme, the mother of Luke and Leia? And if so, why did she appear to be so evil? Join us as we answer these questions and more in today's underrated moment. The road to discovering Padme's soul was one of the hardest ones Darth Vader ever trekked. Perhaps even harder than betraying Mace Windu and the entire Jedi Order the night he decided to pledge himself to the Sith. In order to build his portal, Vader was forced to revisit the site of his defeat, the lava plains of Mustafar, and construct a massive castle. Its design had to be perfect in order to act as a conduit for the dark side nexus that stood in its heart. After a Sith spirit helped guide him, Vader finally completed construction of the portal and managed to walk through it. When the Sith Lord began his journey on the other side, he truly believed he would be able to find Padme's spirit and somehow bring her back to the physical world. But unlike the afterlife of the Jedi, where the ancient masters could interact with each other and continue their training, the netherworld of the Sith was different. It was called chaos, and for good reason. More often than not, the dark beings who delved into it would discover their own fragmented psyche and the mysterious Force impressions of beings instead of their actual ghosts. When Vader fought through his own tormented memories and finally ascended the stairs of the Chaos Realm's version of the Jedi Temple, he found his wife waiting for him. Staring out at the vast sea of nothingness, Padme Amidala, cloaked in a flowing blue gown, stood at the edge of the balcony. And once Vader saw her, every fiber in his being changed, seemingly reverting back to the being he once was before Darth Sidious corrupted him. In an instant, the charred version of his body, which the netherworld had constituted for him, transformed into a perfect copy of Anakin Skywalker. With an outreached hand, he approached Padme, urging her to follow him back through the darkside nexus portal and into the real world. After all, the spirit that had helped Anakin create the portal, the Sith known as Darth Mammon, managed to bring his body from the netherworld into the real world only a few moments prior. But when Padme turned to respond, she only spoke gibberish. It was like she couldn't hear Anakin at all and was simply reflecting memorable lines that the boy had said to Padme during his time on Tatooine. Confused, Anakin continued to walk forward, growing more anxious about Padme's precarious position by the balcony. After a final plea, Padme's eyes erupted with tiny arcs of red lightning, the same rageful power that Skywalker had demonstrated moments prior when he disintegrated a Force impression of Darth Sidious. Now, with a grim, reddened face, Padme simply stated, "Anakin Skywalker is dead," and she leapt from the banister and plunged into the chaos below. As Anakin ran to grab her, he reached out a hand, presumably using the Force to stop Padme's descent. "I won't let you go," he shouted. But Padme's face simply smiled, a terrible, gaunt smile, and two hands forcibly gripped her throat, bringing to life Anakin's own horrid Force choke, which was partially responsible for ending Padme's life. And then, with a final gesture, the netherworld cast a giant red bolt of lightning through Padme's body, turning her into ash and scattering her through the winds. Anakin was devastated. He had once again failed to save Padme's life. With her death in the Chaos Realm, Anakin's body disappeared and Vader's scarred form took over. When we look at this manifestation of Padme and Chaos, it's hard to know exactly what we're dealing with. It's unlikely that this spirit was actually Padme, in the same way that Yoda's spirit in the netherworld would actually be the same exact being who interacted with Luke and Obi-Wan in the real world. Instead, the Padme of Vader's chaos was more likely a reflection from Vader's own mind, or perhaps an impression that Padme had left in the Force. It was rare for anyone to maintain their identity in death. It's for this very reason that the Sith Lords tried to master the technique of transferring essence so desperately. They were afraid of becoming one with the Force and allowing the energy of their consciousness to scatter. At least that's what Darth Plagueis believed. Some powerful Jedi like Qui-Gon Jinn, Yoda, and Obi-Wan managed to preserve their consciousness after death and return as Force ghosts. But it wasn't likely that Padme could achieve that same feat. Unfortunately, the simplest answer, when it comes to Padme's Sith ghost, is probably the most accurate. It might have simply been a Force impression that was animated by Vader's own emotions. Although considering the agony and betrayal Padme felt in her final moments, it's not altogether unlikely that her spirit wandered the netherworld, blinded by her own pain until Luke and Leia finally came to bring her peace.